Welcome to Falcon Forward. My name is Peter Brecht. I'm here with our president, Mike Tanghe, on another beautiful Wednesday here. It's July, San Diego. July in San Diego it's my favorite. I've kind of decided it's like my favorite month. June
Yeah.
gloom's gone. It's actually feels summer, and it's, got the AC running and all that stuff. So hope everyone is doing well out there this week. Mike, thanks for taking the time to come on. I'm excited for our topic today.
Yeah, likewise, Peter. Thank you for organizing. And yeah, lots of fun stuff going on. And I'm also eager to debate our topic at hand.
Yeah. So our topic today is, should a new producer in the insurance industry specialize in commercial, or should they be more of a generalist where they're going maybe after commercial and personal lines? So
Yeah.
Mike is sitting on the side of, having a producer do both commercial and personal. I'm sitting on the side of, I think a producer should specialize in one niche and go after it. So I'm not sure which side we should start with here, Mike, but either way, I'm excited. And then at the end, we can kind of,
Yeah.
I guess,
I'll
figure out where we stand.
Sure. So I'll kick off on it. So I'm from the camp of sell everything, right? You're a new person, you're hustling, you're talking to lots of different people across lots of different things, and if someone falls under the hey, this is something we can provide, whether that in obviously our agency focuses on commercial lines and personal lines, and helpful for people to know that we're about a 3/4 split with commercial lines, P&C revenue. And then 25% comes from personal lines, which is mainly in the high net worth customer segment of personal lines. And so, if you're a new person out there hustling and come across an opportunity, we can deliver on those types of opportunities that you find. So why not focus on both? Get both. Over to you, Peter.
Yeah. So like your opening position on it. I mean, yes, we can do both. My kind of premise for all this is, if I go back and look at my own kind of growth here. So started with Falcon West 3 years ago. Actually, I'm going into year 4 right now, which is great. So, but if I look back on the history of like where I came in really to be a generalist. That was kind of the goal. And then very quickly realized with getting our energy practice, the oil and gas in motion, that didn't matter if I worked 50, 60, 70 hours a week, it was going to take everything I had to get good at one particular niche, right? So, and I will tell you that a lot of that came from, focusing on something that I never knew anything about, right? So how do you put, oil to me, oil and gas was just car terms, right? Put gas in my car, put oil in my car, it runs. Now I got to go talk to people that are actually doing the work. And so I realized that in order to sell this product, to do really well, to understand my client, the environment they're in, all that, I had to become a niche producer. I had to understand everything start to finish. And that's why ultimately I'm a believer in the niche side, right? Is you've got to get good at one thing. And then naturally later on, you can kind of acclimate and sell things easier. I can tell you now, 3 years in, I can have a conversation with somebody in personal lines, and actually maybe I don't have the sales script down, right? Like I don't know how to sell it so much, but I could tell them from a risk perspective, like, hey, you're underinsured here, or, you missed this, having those conversations is easier. It might not be the smoothest sale in the world. That's not ever been my intention as a salesperson either way. I'm just a good advisor that way now, but I
Yeah.
can tell you niche first, and then, you'll do a lot better long term.
So interesting. And I do see from a new perspective, when you're having a lot of things thrown at you, a lot to learn. If you look at our producers, so let's say you've been working here for 5 years or longer, so we would consider that an established producer, that their mix mirrors the agency's overall. So they're about 75% commercial lines, 25% personal. But for these producers, like, it's a substantial revenue that is a little bit different. Commercial lines is going to be a lot more intensive as far as your involvement as a producer. And then personal lines a little bit less. You can, it's a little bit more, it's not an automatic renewal basis, but it's a lot more streamlined renewal. And then isn't those, questions throughout the year, or to a much lesser degree, those questions throughout the year, related to claims or contract reviews or all those types of things that we're doing with our commercial lines clients. And then also working with you, typically a commercial lines client, we're going to be working with anywhere from 3 to, a dozen people on that team who are all handling different things as it relates to the risk management at these organizations. But I guess with that said, if you look at our producers, that they typically did not do both from the beginning, that it was more of okay, they established themselves in commercial lines and then were able to fill in on the personal lines aspect. It became kind of almost a natural conversation. And kind
Hmm.
of echoing your point there of, you feel you can have that conversation with anyone now that you've been, 4 years
Sure.
industry experience. So I can see the perspective of, um, if when you're brand new and everything, every question is, okay, let me get back to you, or it seems like every question is something you have to research because you don't know that answer off the top of your head,
Hmm.
and then just and almost more so on the process side. We've seen a big challenge with our new folks coming on board, and we've been working very hard to help ease that process. But it's like, okay, I got someone. Now what do I do? And then it's like you kind of have these series of doors that, okay, you opened up that first door, you figured out, okay, what's the code to that one, and then there's another door right behind it, and those doors could be underwriting requests. They could be carrier specific requirements as far as what they need. And it could just be getting information from clients on updates to the homes. Like in California specifically, it's a very challenging market as far as the underwriting requests. And it's starting to open up a bit, which is encouraging as far as what carriers will write. But that doesn't mean that it's just, you go online and boom, you have a quote. It's no, you got to, what year was this earthquake retrograded? What year did these updates, and not just taking people's word for it, but tracking down invoices and receipts and all these things that we don't have to do on a commercial lines account. So I guess I'm warming up to a bigger perspective of, okay, maybe it doesn't make sense when you're brand new to just do everything, because that could be in effect, shortchanging your development.
Well, I think there's a difference. So I'm going to agree with you for what I'm going to see. It sounds like I'm going to agree with you, but ultimately it's going to lead to a different conclusion, which is I think
Nice.
it's important to have training. I think you need exposure to it. So understanding what personal lines is, how a personal package or, what that structure looks like for somebody is important. I think when you take that next step and you start interacting with clients, learning how to have that conversation, really trying to, learn what questions to ask, and then really having to go through all the underwriting is very difficult, right? So because that's really the thing you got to learn and get over. The other part of it too is going back to processes, right? So when I started, I remember this very clearly. I was talking to Brenda. A client in Minnesota had called in, and the lead was transferred to me. So I talked to the guy and got his first name, got his address. That's all I knew how to do, right? I mean, I knew there was other questions. I didn't know where to take it. So call Brenda. She's like, "Hey, talk to some of the producers. I have a couple things like this is what we need." But I got a list of things that we needed from Bill. And then I asked Matt, got a different list. Randy gave me a different list. I think Randy sent me like a handwritten picture that he sent me. Like it was very Randy-esque, and it got the job done. He spent a lot of time with me on the phone, talking me through things. I met with him in San Diego, but really that's how it was. And I was like, I know there's more to this. I'd spent some time with a friend of mine kind of developing. So honestly, it went on their website and was like, what questions are they asking? I'll just go do the same thing.
Sure.
So having those processes is really critical and helpful. Now, I will tell you though that when you start getting into commercial, the biggest piece for me is the prospecting, right? So depending on who you are, having a singular focus on prospecting is massive. So if you talk to Bill, he said the number one thing that helped him and helped him turn a corner as a generalist, right, was joining Provisors and a number of these other places where he was able to go be part of a community and network. I've never been a huge network person, and it's not because it's just such a long game for me, right? I'm more of the mindset of like, hey, I know who I can go out and call. I know who I can go help. I'm a little more targeted in that approach.
Yep.
And so having a very streamlined process, knowing who you are, and then being able to approach and go after those particular clients with an understanding is massive. It's no surprise to me that, a couple of our first clients that we got through the oil and gas side were on the engineering, more the engineering production professional line side, because that kind of lines up with how Falcon West, like we have a lot of clients in that space already.
Yep.
But now that we've kind of established ourselves, we have great carrier relationships, we're starting to kind of expand that out into oilfield services. A lot of guys that, boots on the ground, which is great. And then you look too now, like got Devin and Maceo. Those guys both work construction. They've done welding. They know all that stuff. So we're able to kind of
Yeah.
speak to that more. So leaning into that more, I think is critical. And I think it's just a very different conversation you have to have with people, right? And really too, the other part of it is that you, as a new producer, you have to, I think this is the hardest thing, is you almost have to fake it till you make it. And I hate saying that because we just want to be experts and really good at what we do. But I had to defer so often to, I don't know the answer, I'll find out. That is such a humbling thing to say, especially if you say it 20, 30 times a day, right? I say it less often now. I still say it, but having to defer on it to your team and not knowing those answers can really crush you. So if you can study one thing, get really good at it, learning general liability, learning, then we get into, control a well, operators extra expense, all these like different things that are so important. It gets, and then knowing the markets too, right? So that's why I'm such a huge proponent of it. And there's some other things we can talk about, but those are some of the items that I want to highlight as why I'm an advocate and really pushing someone to not just niche, like even in the beginning, but really just continue that. Like you might get referrals and stuff like that. Just my thought process is, look, if it doesn't meet your minimum account or something that you really want to work with, like refer it out to somebody, find a solution for your client, but don't even take that account on. You need to be true to yourself and keep that going the right direction.
Yeah. And so very good points. I like your verbal judo of agreeing and then coming up to a different conclusion. Very politically correct. Tactful correct. But it does bring up so I'll give an agreement and then kind of a counterpoint too as well. And I guess the end result of that is that you got to figure out what works good for you. But from a strictly monetary standpoint and kind of getting up to success faster, I agree that 100% focused. This is my wheelhouse. If it's not in the wheelhouse, you got to obviously have a way to softly hand those off. And, it's not like you're telling a client, no, I won't talk to you. But it's like, hey, here's what I focus on. I'm going to bring in the expert that will take care of your home insurance, or the expert that will take care of this business that's not oil and gas, if that's the focus on it. And yes, it may feel like in the short term that, oh my gosh, I just gave up revenue opportunity and I need revenue opportunity. But to your point of to become that master of that space, I think holds a lot of validity to it. So now the counterpoint to it, counterpoint to my own point is also you got to figure, and this is the beauty of insurance, is you have to figure out what works good for you. So like and just even this week, I'm going to have 3 in-person meetings this week with personal lines clients, that, one of them's paying $500,000 a year. So, I mean, it's as big as some of our larger commercial lines clients, but I very much enjoy those in-person meetings. And these are wildly successful people that, if you measure purely by money, standards, and so I enjoy those types of meetings and kind of the problem solving that goes with that. Could I have, replaced that? So could I brought someone else in and had them take care of it? No, for sure. And then could I have then used that time to write more commercial lines accounts that are, 3x, 4x, 5x that size? Also true. But it kind of comes down to, hey, this is something that I really like on it. But I guess what I've realized is it's a bit, I'm not necessarily setting our new producers up for the best level of success or their fastest level of success by saying, hey, this is something I enjoy. And again, it's easier for me because I did commercial lines for probably 4 years before I started focusing on or not focusing, but before I started writing personal lines. So to ask our new people to come in and do both, I'm realizing that's not the best method to go, and they would be better served of saying, hey, we're going to bring in, this. Ask the questions for sure. And if there's interest in having a review of the personal lines, now we can bring in an expert that makes them look better. And we'll handle that for the client. So we're taking care of the client first and foremost. That producer can get paid for that opportunity, but it's not taking away from their development on their core focus. So
yeah, and I think, I agree, but and even with what you're saying too. So I think I would like to clarify, even with personal lines, right? So I wake up every day and I think to myself, all right, like if I had to start over again, like what would I focus on? And I think it's a great way for me to reframe like my focus for the day is like if today was 0, right? How do I want to end my day? Where do I want to go? If I had to go into personal lines production, what I've slowly over time realized, because again, I haven't focused on the personalized conversation a lot, but I've thought about it a lot over the past couple of weeks, especially with some producer changes internally, and just moving account managers into production. It's been great, but focusing on a niche and having a process for that. So if you're gonna do home and auto, and you're talking to you're just happy writing a ton of clients, and you want to have a 3,000 client book, and don't really care about how many accounts and all that stuff, and we get really into the nitty gritty numbers, that's fine. When you move into but you have to have a really good process for that. You have to be able to submit, quote, know your markets, etc. My preference in that case even would be to focus really on high net worth private client, where we can have really actual conversations with people, right? So
Yes.
you have to, even within your niche, get really good at one thing. So
Yes.
it's kind of bizarre, but you've got personal lines, which is sort of your standard market, and you have your high net worth, and then commercial. It's like you get to pick an industry, but even in that industry, you might have something that's even more granular that you can really do. Carrier appetites change. You kind of try to. It's constant. So I don't. I like. And the other part too is I would really encourage anyone that's getting into a niche to think about two things. First of all, what do you find interest in, right? You have to almost, regardless of personal lines, commercial lines, whatever it is, but you must be so obsessed and consumed with that industry that it almost becomes your identity. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's going to take 3 years of just study, belief, and just going and talking to everyone in that industry to get good at it, right? So if you look at what I knew about oil and gas 3 years ago,
Yeah.
nothing, right? Fast forward to today, I've talked to, honestly, hundreds of people in the industry. I started a podcast about it to learn more about it. Like it was an all-consuming obsession. And now I'm kind of setting that to the side for a second so I could take a breather. I need to remember why I started this in the first place, which was because I love insurance and I just think it's a great thing to do. And then looking at the overall organization and company as we're trying to grow. So not to get too far off track, but you have to be obsessed with it. If that's private client, you're going to be, you're going to study. I really mean that. Like, you're going to say, Randy, hey, I need to learn everything I can from you. You're going to be calling me up and saying, man, our website, when we're talking about clients, like, it is way off. I need you to change. Like, there's that level of specificity. And I've heard people writing books about this stuff, just like to learn how to do it. It's amazing. So just be obsessed with it. I think you'll do really well. You don't really stop thinking about things as a producer. You really don't. It's not something where you're going to set it aside. And I think too, Mike, like, you've been doing this for a very long time. And so I think that just comes naturally to you. Like, you like those one-on-one meetings and stuff. My personality is more like, and you laugh because Devin and Macy are like this when I'm calling, but I'm so, like, I'm almost too direct, right? It's like, hey, do you want help or not, right? And the people will say, yeah, great. And but everyone's got their own style. So what I'm saying there is, if you're a networking guy and that, or you're the kind of person who wants to be in your community book club, and that's who you're prospecting to, that's fine. But you got to know who you are, and you got to know how you like to talk to people, how you want to reach people, because it's got to feel natural. At the end of the day, if it's not who you are and it's not how you were kind of raised, for lack of a better thought process there, but if it's not who you're not going to do well. You're going to be going against yourself all the time, and it's not going to be fun. So
Yeah, no, great points. That be true to yourself. I'd add a couple things to that and I'm glad you brought up the focusing on the personal lines in the high net worth segment, because we have 2 producers that solely do that right now and do a fantastic job. We're about to bring on our 3rd producer that is going to be solely focused on that personal lines. And that gets back to your point of, what do you enjoy? What do you want to do? This person will be wildly successful because they have that interest, that attributes. The thing that I would also add, that I would tell to anyone who's thinking about the industry, and it doesn't matter whatever industry you're in. Yes, you need to find, like, what your passion is. The thing I would add to that for someone is look to see, are there other people who have that same passion who are having success? So in other words, is there a pathway? If other people are doing it, then that's great. That means that I can also do that, because there's some things that I talk with some younger people, and here's stuff that they're doing, and I was like, wow, like, that's cool. I'm glad that's your passion, but I don't know that there's necessarily a means to make money in that level of passion. Again, that's not the most important thing. It's not everything out there, but there is, especially if you want to get married and, have a family, there's certain level of responsibilities. And so you're, you're, you're almost setting yourself up for failure if you're going to do something that doesn't necessarily have that pathway, or it's just going to be a lot more high risk on it. So I always tell people, like, okay, that's like, sounds like a cool job. It's this new company. Like, are there other people doing? And I learned that the hard way. One of my jobs right out of college was with a company that was really cool, and we raised a bunch of money, and we had really cool offices. But at the end of the day, when we would start talking to people and clients, we had nothing to sell. On it. And so again, didn't last there very long, thankfully, nor did the company last very long. But I guess that kind of proved to my point of like, wow, like this all sounded great, but there wasn't this pathway of insurance. Thankfully, 100% has that. There's a lot of people that are very successful in the insurance industry, and then it's okay. What's my interest? What's my niche? And then full on pursuing that.
Yeah. Well, you might remember when I started, I had I knew so many of the independent coffee shops here in California. And I was
Yeah.
like, Mike, I'm going to write these coffee shops. And you're like, yeah, no, like, let's not worry about that right now. So it's funny. You can almost steer someone away from something because you know that, hey, first of all, there's no markets, there's no whatever. That's fine. But it's fine. So I'm still very passionate about coffee. I just don't write a
Yeah.
whole lot of coffee shops. I think I
Right.
have
They're
maybe two
fun to go
total.
enjoy, be a consumer at them. But yeah, it's uh, yeah. So great example there.
Very
So
funny, yeah. Gosh, I had another thought that popped in my mind and I lost it, so I'm a little bummed. Hopefully not everyone else isn't too disappointed on that, but yeah. So where does so where do we let's talk Falcon West going forward. Like we've got
yeah,
some growth plans, we got some things we're always working on. Obviously, I know you guys hear about it every week. Like from where I'm at, I'm constantly looking at process, right? So our ops team, we're really focusing on, how are we getting all that through? Because, Mike and I, we actually went to an event yesterday, an Oracle event. So it was their AI, one of their AI, just trying to get questions. Now that, we might not have anything Oracle related, but there's always good questions we can learn. And one thing that I kind of figured out with insurance is, we're taking in data, right? We're taking data in, we're processing data, we're presenting that data to underwriters, we're presenting it to clients, we're presenting it to our account managers. And it's actually, a lot of it's the same information, right? It just has to be packaged and shared a different way depending on who your audience is. So that's something we're kind of thinking about. We could do a whole podcast on yesterday. But that said, like if I look at this, we have new producer, Devin joined us, 120 days ago. So he's been with us for 4 months. I guess let's just ask the question, like, are we planning on having people wear multiple hats, or would we prefer them to focus on a niche? Like,
yeah,
where would you stand on that? What are your thoughts?
yeah. So I would say I have come around through your persuasive arguments on it. In that, and Devin and I were working on an opportunity that
Yeah,
he did a fine job on, but
sure.
again, the amount of time and again, the error of my ways was realizing that viewing this with someone who has experience, and so it's a bit more. And so I needed to put myself back in that beginning shoes. And so I think the better way for the producer, better way for the client, and better way for the company itself is if future opportunities come up that Devin uncovers that would be in a personal lines, that he bring in another person at our company to handle that. And then that way he can stay focused on his track. And where I guess I a little strayed from our goal was we want to get him to a viable book of business as quick as possible. And that doesn't mean just all revenue. It means here's the quickest path is you focus on the oil and gas niche. This is your proven path. Other people have done this ahead of you. It's your quickest path to success. Once he gets to that path, then he can kind of, come up for air and be like, hey, I want to do a little more personal lines or with these oil and gas clients that I work with, or but to get him to success the fastest, I think that should be a better model for our organization going forward is we have the experts for whatever it is, and that
Uh-huh.
could be generalist P&C, it could be small business P&C, it could be personal lines. And so much like if we come across an opportunity where someone says, hey, health insurance, we bring in outside companies to do that. This would just be that same concept of let's bring in our inside experts to do.
Yeah, I think that's great. And yeah, I've encouraged, so like even myself, like I still don't ever want to get rusty on things, and other things kind of take up my day, but I still love making cold calls. I still love getting kind of, I still love going to meet businesses or, knocking on doors every now
Yeah.
and then. Like if I can do it once a month, man, and that's like the best 10 people I'll go talk to, right? Just because it's part of who, it's got to be part of your routine. But so trying to kind of build up all that at the same time is fun. So I just love. It's funny, we had Triline Management came on with our academy.
Yeah, I'm eager to hear how that went earlier this
Oh
week.
man, it was great. Adam did a fantastic job sharing and going through like LinkedIn, personal branding, and all that. The first session I got to attend, hadn't heard the material, even though I'd helped him sort of like proofread it and go through it, put all the stuff together. But I came away with some great things and learned something about myself, which is that like what drives me is actually helping other people be successful, which is a really odd thing. But if you look at like my past, it's always been kind of identifying what people are good at and then helping them really sharpen that edge and just go after it, right? I want them to do as good as they can be, whether that's people I work with, my kids, my spouse, myself, right? Like I just love equipping people with it. So you might call that a teacher. But anyways, I'm really encouraged by just seeing all the new people coming in, just the range of talent and all the great things there. So we got a lot more to cover, Mike. Today we've got, I know I have a couple things to do before we head off to a meeting, but anyways, this has been fun. We'll have to revisit this, I think, and let's give it 6 months. Maybe we have to review this in January, just see how we're doing.
That sounds like a good plan. So good stuff today, Peter. Thank you.
All right. Hey, everyone, thank you for listening to today's episode. If you have any questions, let us know. Put it in the comments, like and subscribe. The stars, if you can put 5 stars, 4 stars, whatever you feel like giving, helps us kind of get some visibility. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you again next week.
Awesome.